Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, Calvin.
Okay.
In case we use it for later when we put it on YouTube or in Facebook. So I cannot live stream in nhà cửa Mỹ hả, Tú?
That's fine. Take care of it. So you guys can start.
Or you can share your personal in nhà cửa Mỹ. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming on a Saturday morning. The subject today, we're gonna interview our two commercial experts, Calvin Wong and Jeff Vo. So Calvin is a expert in Dallas. Just a disclaimer, I am not related to Calvin. Because a lot of people ask that questions before. So even though we have the same last name and you know, we have the same love for commercial and we partner in business, but I'm not related to Calvin. So Calvin has 15 years of experience in commercial real estate, and he's a managing partner of Invest, his company from EXP Commercial, and co-founder of We Partners. He's the committee, a CCIM committee member in 2021, and he's the president of North Texas CCIM chapter. He's a 21-22 CEO power broker. So thank you, Calvin, so much for joining. And Jeff is also the expert in California, Bay Area. We have Jeff with over 15 years of experience, and he's a member of Santa Clara County and member of California Association of Realtors, past president of VNARP. If you don't know what VNARP is, stands for Vietnamese National Association of Real Estate Professionals. Đây là cái hiệp hội bất động sản của người Việt ở Mỹ, found in the Bay Area and now expanding to other chapters, SoCal, and we're gonna expand in Texas soon. And Jeff,
and thanks, Trinh. Thanks, Trinh, for mentioning that. Yeah. Thanks, Trinh, for mentioning that because you're the president-elect for upcoming VNARP president. So I'm happy to be part of this, and I'm happy to have you as the next president.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Make sure you continue to help me with the torch.
I'll support.
Okay. And Jeff is also co-founder with Tố and I from VCIE, another Vietnamese commercial real estate group. So Jeff has been very active and well known in the Bay Area. Thank you, Jeff, for coming to
thank you.
Give us. Let's see. So Calvin, can you go on the next slide, and let's go through the agenda real quick. Jeff and Calvin will talk about the market condition, and then they will briefly go to show people how to find deals and you know, title commitment and stuff like that. And then they will show you how to analyze some deals, retail deals and industrial deals. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trinh, for the introduction. Again, first of all, I want to thank NCM. I want to thank Trinh, Jeff, and Tu for the opportunity to basically, instead of interview, more like sharing what I know and what we know about you know, what's going on in the market and how to analyze deals and so on and so forth. So I hope we can cover most of it because I know we only have an hour. As you know, this, you know, commercial real estate, you know, analyzing deals, it's a very broad topic. Just the property types alone, we have like, you know, 5-6 different property types: office, multifamily, hotel, retail, industrial. So we try to select the most important elements to kind of share with the audience. But again, like I said, within 1 hour, it's really tough to kind of educate or make you guys an expert. But we welcome any questions, you know, after this presentation. But hope you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, yeah, again, my name is Calvin Wong. I'm based here in Dallas, Texas. Pretty happy with the market because the last couple of years, the market we are so blessed with all these major companies. Unfortunately, they're all coming from California, which most of you guys are residing. But we're so blessed with all these, major companies relocation coming into Texas, bringing all the jobs. And when there are jobs, there's population growth. When there's population growth, there's demand for residential and commercial real estate space. So let's quickly talk about the Texas market condition right now. So obviously the 4 major metro in Texas is Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. In short, we also call it DASH, D-A-S-H. Since I'm in Dallas, I'm going to talk about Dallas more. If you looked at the office sector, the rents actually, this is quarterly versus the previous quarter. So the asking rent is going down. I think one of the reasons why is because the occupancy. If you look at the office occupancy, it's below 80%. Historically, Dallas office occupancy has always been above 80%. But as we all know, COVID and whatnot impact the office sector, not just Texas, but nationwide. So one of the things is, owners, landlords are feeling the pressure to try to lease out the vacant space. So that's why they have to remain competitive on their rent. So they have to make it more incentivized for companies to really want to rent office in the CBD and Class A. Switching gears, so if you look at retail and warehouse in Dallas, it's great occupancy rate, 94%. So people may think 100% occupancy is the best, but it's not, because you always want to have some vacancy for people to move up. So in other words, if I have a retail store or restaurants, 2,000 square feet, I want to be able to, if business is good, I want to be able to quickly turn around and find some vacant space to expand. So in other words, just like unemployment, historically people say if unemployment rate of 3% is equal to full employment. So you can kind of use that benchmark, kind of put it in this perspective. 94% occupancy rate is really pretty much like a full occupancy. And we also have pretty healthy rent growth, 4 to 5% rent growth. Let's look about Austin. So Austin, overall, the office is really good because Austin is viewed as the Silicon Valley of Texas. So all the high-tech company, they are all in kind of concentrated in Austin, and that's why they get the benefit of the high occupancy rate. And look at the rent, the asking rent, over 10%. That's really good. Retail, very healthy. Warehouse, super healthy. 14.4% asking rent. I'm sure most of you guys here own properties. How would you like to have a 14% rent increase in your property? That's just amazing. That's like mind-blowing. At the same time, because of all the good indicators in Austin, it also makes Austin a very expensive market to enter as an investor. So let's look about San Antonio. Office occupancy rate quarter by quarter, it's remained the same. Asking rent, a little bit dip. Class A office occupancy rate actually dropped, but still have the asking rent is holding up. Retail and warehouse, again, warehouse is outperformed, 14% increase. Houston, same thing, that we are looking in office. It's average to the condition is not really improving. But if you look at retail and warehouse, again, the rent increase 12%. So basically, you can already paint a picture by looking at this chart. Like, okay, if you are investors, if you are wanting to develop, you can already tell like, okay, which sector you want to go in. So it's either retail or warehouse if you want to be investing in it or wanting to develop. So those are the two property sectors that, based on the statistics, is a very encouraging trend for investors and developer. So next we got Jeff. He's going to talk about the California market.
All right. Thanks, Calvin. Actually, that's Austin and Houston's considered one of the top markets in the U.S. So I'm glad you covered that, because a lot of folks in California would actually love to invest over there. So some of us actually have done that in the last first quarter of 2022. So thanks for sharing. As you can see, this is the California latest market data. The housing, I want to just go briefly on the housing as well, just because I think that indicates where the commercial market are going in the next quarter or two. As you can see, the housing market has been dipping. It has been the number of home sales has been declined year to year. You're looking at almost 31% from July of last year, right? So that show you that where the interest rate has gone up, the inflation has gone up. It is all indicators of if there's a risk of larger, risk of recessions coming up. And if you go to the next slides, I want to show you the the commercial real estates. So I did some research, and UCLA Anderson's business school have conducted a survey showing a 3 years forecast. And they see there's a positive optimism of the market in the next 3 years. There is a slight, dampings in the office market. It is much slower compared to the industrials and the multifamily and retail market. For the past quarter of 2022, you're talking about quarter 1, 2, and 3. There is a record-breaking sales in all that those market, industrial and in retail. If I think I have a statistic, loss in multifamily, Los Angeles and San Diego actually are much higher compared to Northern California, and industrial as well. San Diego is leading the market in California. Retail, we have Northern California, San Jose, and East Bay, Sacramento are leading the market compared to Southern California. The only thing that is lagging behind would be hotel. The hotel market overall has been quarter to quarter have seen a decline in that sector. Okay, and for those who actually wanted to invest, I think there is what I have seen so far. I haven't seen any much price decrease in terms of the industrial market nor the retail market. All the listings that we have had has remained the same. We haven't seen any price decline. That's just because perhaps the second quarter of 2022 has seen a lot of good price, good sales, record sales as well. And if you follow through and do some more further research on the industrial market, there is a huge demand for smaller warehouse, from 5,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. I have seen the number of prospects looking for, either they want to consolidate from a bigger warehouse to a smaller warehouse and moving from one city to another city. So that's still signaled is in the next year or so, there's the number of demands still going to remain the same, if not maybe decline slightly, but the industrial market is considered one of the best market right now. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for mentioning that, because we often get asked like, okay, should I wait? Should I see what's going on? Should I wait for the market to crash? So oftentimes, like, we get asked by these questions. I'm glad, Jeff, you mentioned that the market is still holding up pretty good. Most of your listings are, you haven't seen any price decline. Same here in Texas, just because there's still a lot of capital out there chasing deals, buying properties. Because if you think about it, inflation, it's a major topic right now, right? So wait, the money that you have in the bank is just gonna lose value every day. So buying assets, real estate, has always been a good strategy for hedging against inflation. So inflation is actually helping you because the rent, right? Because we saw the stats, the rent has been going up. Inflation is helping the rent grow, because when there's an inflation, you actually can command higher rent. So in other words, even if you're buying right now, you think like, oh, I'm buying at a high price. Don't think of it that way, because inflation is going to help carry you through. It's really an inflation hedge strategy by buying properties, especially those two sectors, retail and industrial. The demand is so strong that you know, don't feel like, oh, you know, you're buying it right now, you're going to lose money. So don't think of it that way.
Yeah, and honestly, what I've seen so far, like, you know, I know the Fed is trying to control the inflation, trying to lower it down to a healthy level, but you know, everything that we see right now, perhaps just all temporary. You know, in the next quarter or so, I think there would be a number. If the labor market can remain high right now, I mean, you know, there's 1.3 jobs available for one unemployed person. It just indicate that there's a high demand still for labor market, and so everything is just all temporary. And I see it's the market, real estate market, will continue to tick up essentially.
So Jeff, where do we find deals?
All right, so I mean, okay, as from a broker and from working with you know, clients, there's many ways for you to find deals. I know Trinh has been oftentimes going to auction.com to look for deals. So I've seen that, you know, that's one way to do that. But there's also, as you can see, there's many ways. You can go online to like LoopNet, CoStars. You can go to Craigslist, which is also another online you know, website that you can search for more commercial properties. You can talk to Calvin and I, or Trinh, or whomever that is brokers. We do know, you know, all the current listings that's on the market, especially during our own market. You can have, you know, you can build relationship with all the lenders, even attorneys actually give you some potential deals too. But obviously, one of the best way would be, you know, cold calling the owners directly, and or if you know them, you can approach them. Say, you know, if you have a retail plaza you want to sell, they might consider it, because sometimes they wanted to exchange into some other properties. So I find the off market, which is going to be one of the better ones if you're looking to buy, okay, or you're looking to find big deal or good deals. Okay. Great.
So, you know, the main difference between commercial and residential is commercial. It's all about numbers. It's not about emotional. It's not about you know, the pink countertop or the pink cabinets, right? It's all about numbers. What makes sense? You're crunching the numbers. So obviously, there's the few indicators that we looked at. First of all, cap rate. So cap rate it's one of the factors that we looked at, but it's not the only factors that we look at on investment property. The reason, because, and I'll dive in on the next slide about how to analyze cap rate. It really is just a quick and dirty way to compare different properties, because you can look at a cap rate of 5% versus 6% and then kind of compare it that way. And second is the cash flow. So what's the cash flow that the property is generating right now and versus the future? What can you do? What strategy can you deploy to increase the cash flow? Because commercial properties, the valuation, how they value the building is based on the cash flow. The higher the cash flow, of course, you can sell it at a much higher price. Tenants turnover. You know, what type of tenants are in the property right now that you can you know, re-tenant it, so bring in a better quality tenants, things like that. What's the upside? Is there any upside on the property? TIs, like, you know, how much do you have to put out? TIs mean tenant improvements dollars. So a lot of time when you have a property, when tenant wants to come in, most of the time they have to renovate the space. So sometimes it could be in amount of hundreds of thousands for the renovation. So the tenant is relying on the landlord to help them, providing them some assistance on the renovation cost. So the landlord has to come up with the capital. Sometimes it's hundreds of thousands to provide to the tenant to help them on renovation. So all this is going to be, as you are looking at projects, is something that you have to really look into it. So cap rate. So it's a very, very simple formula. Cap rate is equal to NOI, which is net operating income, divided by sales price. So let's say you look at a property. If the net operating income is $200,000 and they're selling it at $2 million, then the cap rate is 10%. So you use 200,000 divided by 2 million. So that's where you get the cap rate of 10%. Now, this cap rate of 10% is pretty much non-existent in today's world, because average cap rate that we're looking at a market ranges from 3 to 6% or 7%. But 10% used to be kind of like the benchmark. That's probably like 10 years ago. And also different property types have different cap rate average. So when you look at the cap rate, you can also see it as your first year return. So if you pay cash up to $1 million, right? Your first year, your cash flow is 200,000. That means you're making cash on cash return of a 10%, right? For this example. So just by looking at this sentence, 200,000, 2 million, cap rate is 10%. Is it a good deal? Maybe not, because you have to look at the tenant itself. Is it a stable tenant? Because sometimes one of the things is like when the seller wants to sell the building, they can mark up the rent, sign it with the tenant, where the tenant doesn't have any credit at all. The tenant's going, okay, I'll sign it at a super high rent, and then he's trying to put in like a higher price for a
basically inflating the rent so that you get high cap rate. Yeah,
correct. Then you think, oh wow, I'm getting like 10%, whatever, 8%, whatever. Then you go, oh man. So not necessary. Don't look at purely on a cap rate. However, cap rate is a quick way for you to just compare, like as you are looking at 10 different projects, right? Yeah. That's something that you can kind of quickly. So don't just stick upon like cap rate. Oh, if I can get high cap rate, that's a good deal. Let's go buy it. Not necessary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So again, here's the calculation. Cap rate is equal NOI divided price. Price is equal NOI divided cap rate. NOI is equal to cap rate times price. So because of time, because we have a lot of golden nuggets we're going to drop to you. So sometimes I have the audience kind of do some calculation and I'll talk about it. But because of time, we'll probably have to do it the next time. But just keep in mind the cap rate is equal to the cash flow, the net cash flow. This is before any debt, before you pay any loans or whatnot. So this is purely the gross income, the rent that you're collecting from the tenant, minus all the expenses, property tax, property insurance, the common area maintenance, management, things like that. So all the expenses before your loan payment. So that cash flow divided by the price is equal to the cap rate. So risk, let's talk about risk. Buying commercial properties. The difference between buying commercial and residential is there's more things to think about. The location, right? Location. We all heard this like thousands of times, right? Location. Yeah. That's so important, because you can buy a super ugly building, but in a prime location, and you still can make money out of it because the location help you out. Because the building you can renovate, you can add more stories or what 2 or 3 floors, whatever that is. But the location is so important. So even if you buy like some burned down building, but the location basically dictates the majority of it. Access to supply. Is there like a lot of competition in the same street or same block, same intersection? Is it overbuilt, right? That's something you gotta think about, because the property could be like a very good cap rate, 8, 9, 10%, but there's a lot of supply where the tenant can, when their lease expires, they can go to other building. So the supply, you have to look at tenants. You got to look at the tenant's profile. You know, how is it majority? Is it most of them? Like all of them, all of the tenants are local tenants or mom and pop startup, because the risks are higher. Because if business, let's say if there's a recession or, you know, COVID, whatever, they're just gonna, you know, belly up, shut down and moved out. And if you rely on that cash flow to pay your loan, then, you know, that's something that you have to kind of calculate that too. Concentration. So when you're buying that property, does it require more capital to either rehab and whatnot? Planning. Have you ever like look at a building and all of a sudden there's an highway overpass that's built in front of it? It's gonna heavily affect that property because the access is no longer the same. It used to be like you have the access directly in the front and you can turn in. When the government or the city or well, we call it TxDOT here, the Department of Transportation, when they put an overfly, it really will affect your property. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. Legal, is there any pending lawsuits against certain tenants or the seller? Taxation, that's another thing. Because when you are looking at, you know, let's say the seller send you the financials, the property tax is based on the existing valuation. So in Texas, our valuation, we get assessed on the property every year. Every year, the county will send you a new letter. And sometimes like you're gonna be like, oh my God, like how much they're gonna value, right? You're gonna be like sweating and all that. Because property tax is a big deal. It will eat up your cash flow. So when you do your analysis, make sure you get that, you know, taxation involved. And of course, we can protest our property tax, but sometimes you may not be, you know, that lucky that they are willing to lower your valuation. So keep that in mind, because the property tax is going to eat in your cash flow. Macroeconomy, like, of course, this is like the big environment. You know, if you think about the supply issue. So let's say if you are buying a shopping center, you want to rehab. Of course, the last 2 years, logistics has been super difficult. One of my client is waiting for a specific windows for like, you know, almost a year. It's stuck somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, whatever. So that will affect your strategy too. So also need to keep that in mind. Costs. We all know that cost has been going up. You know, a lot of contractors, they are not wanting to commit to a certain pricing until, you know, certain. So those are the things that I looked at: liquidity, valuation, negative equity. So negative equity comes when you're upside down on your debt. So whenever there's like, you know, for example, when COVID happened, a lot of landlords are suffering because the tenant are not paying rent. So then you're upside down because you have to start writing checks to the bank to keep that property afloat. I know, especially in New York, it got affected the most because I have some clients and tenants. They were able to get like a really good deal, like, you know, landlord say, I'll give you like, they were paying, let's say $50 a foot. The landlord, you know, cut into half, just so like they're still paying rent, and they are able to get, you know, so many months of free rent. So when they come to Texas and want to rent a space, they were having that same expectation, but it's different market. They were like, oh man, like how come this landlord here in Dallas are not giving me half of the rent, or, you know, things like that. So anyway, long story short, all this risk is something that you have to think about. Don't lose sleep over it, because this is actually, yes, there's a lot to think about, but this is also where in all these factors you can find opportunity to get higher cash flow. Because if you can control your tax, if you can control your costs, if you can control most of this, that means you can have a pretty good cash flow. That means you can have a higher return on the property you're investing. So cycle, we all know in economy, we every 8 to 10 years, it's there's a cycle, right? You have an up cycle and down cycle. When was the last time U.S. economy have a recession? When was it? What year?
2007, 08.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what year are we on right now? 2022. So that's 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we haven't seen like falling prices or anything like that. So it's a very unique situation right now, because the last 2 years, thanks to the government, they pumped a lot of money into the economy and tried to extend the cycle. But it's so important that you follow where the economy is going, cycle you have. So I'm just going to briefly touch on that. So usually when there's an oversupply of assets, properties and whatnot, then you will see falling in values, and then banks starting to tighten up their credit. They started to be more concerned. So that's why it's harder to get financing. So that's another thing. One of the investors, they'll ask me, hey, should I just wait for the crash and then buy? I have two answers to that. One is, if they have cash, if they have a couple of millions, then I said, sure. I mean, that's cash and king at that time. But for those investors that are relying on getting a loan, trying to borrow 60-70%, then it's going to be tough. Even though if you have the down payment ready, if there's a market crash, but don't forget the bank is also tightening. So the bank is not going to willing to lend as easy as before. So in other words, even if you, oh man, this is a great product, I want to buy it, but you are not able to get the lending. So you also lose that opportunity. So financing difficulties, there's less investment in the marketplace, and of course it's going to take its course to improve. And then as market started to grow, economy started to get better, then we're going to see absorption, right? People are starting to absorb the extra real estate. Then you're going to see the supply shortage. When there's a supply shortage, there's going to be rising values, and then when there's rising value, then the bank is going to be ease up their lending requirement. It's easier to get financing. Then you got to be in the environment that people are making a lot of money, people are making a lot of profits, and then it's going to go again. Because as a developer, right? So if you remember the slides that I showed it to you, developer look at the rent growth. Whenever there's a huge rent growth, then the developer think, okay, because the rent growth is also a function of supply and demand. Because there's a lack of supply, that means landlord can increase the rent and still able to get it. Then developers gonna be like, okay, that market may be undersupplied. If I go build a building and then get the market share. So that's why the builders, developers, they'll go into market, they'll look at, okay, which market has a strong rent growth. Then they'll go in and try to capture that opportunity. So in any time in the cycle, there's always opportunity. Don't feel like only the down cycle you have the opportunity. Even in the up cycle, because you're riding the wave. Let's say if you're buying at this point, right, 2-3 years later, the market is keep on growing. You still can capture that. You still can profit, because if you are buying at this up cycle, there's going to be 2 or 3 years up cycle too. You can sell it at that time. So don't think like, oh, you can only grab the opportunity during down cycle. So if you analyze it, there's always opportunity, whether it's an up cycle or down cycle. All right. So I'm just going to quickly just kind of show you some example of the deals in the marketplace. So this is a Dairy Queen. We call it a absolute triple net lease. What that means is the tenant is responsible. They'll pay the property tax directly, the property tax, and they'll manage the property for you. So this is for those people that do not want any headache at all. They just want to make sure every month, first of the month, they look at their bank account. Boom, there's the rent coming in. This is for people that don't want to have any headache at all. And that's why the cap rate is lower, because risk and return, higher the cap rate, higher the risk, lower the return, lower the risk. So this is for, yeah. So every month we also call it mailbox money, because it comes in on time every month. So this is a multi-tenant shopping centers. As you know, multi-tenant, you have Starbucks, dental, you have nail salon, you have restaurants. So this is the trend these days in retail shopping centers, is all the experience, all the restaurants, all the F&B. So the cap rate is 6.25, 100% lease. So it's not bad, right? 6.25. But you get Starbucks, you get, you know, Qdoba is another national brand name for, they do like Mexican food. And then you have this is the industrial building, a little bit larger, but they're occupied by national and regional tenant. So there's all kind of different listings and opportunity. So if you only look at cap rate alone, it's hard for you to really understand, okay, what is the risk behind it? And that's why you have to kind of look into the tenant's profile. Who are the tenants? When are the leases expired? Because if all the tenants' lease expire like next year, the bank is going to be concerning too, because when you go to the bank's going to be like, okay, so let's say 50% chance they're going to go move out to another building. All of a sudden, if your tenant moved out, right, your cash flow going to drop. When cash flow drop, it may not be enough to cover your loan payment. So then you have to start writing checks every month. So a lot of things to think about, but you know, this is something that we do every single day. We can kind of analyze and all that for you if needed. So let's jump right into a real deal that Jeff's gonna throw all the nuggets. So put on your thinking hat, pull out your calculator. Jeff's gonna like give us the download, his secret on how to analyze deals. Jeff.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Calvin. So let's dive into this, because this is actually one of the retail shopping center that is on the market right now. It's not mine, but it's actually listed by another broker. And I have a couple of different clients that came to me, and what they asked for my advice, and so I had to give them the nuggets too, so they understand how I broke this down, and why I would recommend or why I would not recommend it. So as soon as I show them the number, then they know right away what to expect. Okay, so this is a strip center with a okay, next slide, Calvin. So this is a 7 units, 17,000 square feet retail strip center. It has a, if you're in San Jose, it's right on Story and McLaughlin. It has a supermarket, about 8,000 square feet, and all the other retails, including a salon, 3 restaurant, food to go, and then me, and a so basically almost four restaurants in there. Okay, so it's a very nice little strip center. I like it personally. All the leases are brand new or recently renewed. So they have lease ending all the way up to 2031. Okay, and actually 2032. So, and look at the rent. The net operating income is like 630,000 annually. So 100% occupied comes out to be about you're looking about 5.26, 5.25% cap rate. What does it mean? It means good rental income. So if they put on a 5.25% a cap rate, the purchase price would be around $12 million. Okay, so if you look here, the rent, you look at there like from $3, $2.80 to $4.75, actually $5. On top of that, you have to pay all the camp charges. In this case, I would call it the triple net lease with $1.35 a square foot on top of the base rent. So if you add another $1.35 on top of $5, you're looking at $6 total, $6 or more total. Okay, so okay, next slide, Calvin. Okay, so when you're looking at the this particular deal, 5.25 cap rate, the cash flow indeed is very important. right? So the cash flow is based on the cap rate. Higher the cap rate, the less valuable the property is. The lower the cap rate, the more valuable the property. And let's go to the next slide. So I'll go into the property values right now. Okay, so if you look at the cap rate, 5.25, purchase price is 11, close to $12 million. Net operating income is 630,000. Suppose if you do a financing of 75%, okay, your loan to value is about $9 million. Your down payment, your own equity that you put out 25%, which is close to $3 million. The current interest rate is, you know, in the 5%. So just assume it's 5%. So if your loan to value is 75%, and based on a 5% interest rate, your yearly debt service is about $450,000. Okay, that's a lot of money. Okay, and if you subtract your net operating income with your debt service, your yearly cash flow, all the post debt, you're looking at 180,000. Okay, so that's if you calculate it out. You're looking at a 6% cash on cash based on a 5% cap rate. The money is actually barely working for you based on a 6% return annually. Okay, I've seen where deals, you know, if the interest rate is lower, let's say if it's a 3.25 or 4%, you might get 10% cash on cash on a 5% cap rate. Okay, so let's do some comparisons so that way you understand, you know, a 5.25 cap versus current market. What was the market? Let's say a year ago, the cap rate in California where this market is at is like 4.25. Okay, so if you buy it at a 5.25 cap versus a 4.25 market cap, you automatically make some money. So if it's a 4.25 market cap rate, this property value is about close to $14 million. Okay, so if it's you automatically gain almost $2 million, and that's a profit of, you know, that's like if you base on a yearly cash flow of 180,000, you gain 11 years of profit right there automatically. If the market cap rate was 4.5%, but if the market is 6%, right? Let's say you know, they put this property on the market for $12 million, but the market cap rate is 6%. You automatically losing money the moment you purchase this property. Okay, so if you divide out by a 6 cap based on the net operating income of 630,000, this property is only worth about $10.5 million. Okay, so you're losing what? You're losing $1.5 million, and that'll take you 8 years just to break even. Okay. Okay, so next slide, Calvin. Okay, so this is how I values, you know, the property. Okay, it's oftentimes follows the rental income, right? Beside the appreciation of the property. Okay, you want to learn how you can add values to the property so you can have, you know, a higher return. Okay, so for this particular deals, I felt like it's already like an in-place type of deal, meaning that the owner have already negotiated a brand new lease. You come in with everything perfect, okay? And so if you know, and the rent is considered at the peak already or at the market value, so if you know you want to come in, you wanted to change it to or increase the rent higher, it's going to be very difficult, okay? Because all the leases are brand new or they have renewed it already. Okay, so for me, you know, there's a huge risk in buying this property So first of all, the average rent is $4 versus compared to the area rent of $3.50. If one of these tenants leave, you automatically lose the money. Okay, let's say a restaurant moves out, you lose your rental income right away. And if you wanted to rent it back, during this market condition, you won't expect this type of rent anymore. Tenants going to demand for a lower rent, so your rental income automatically will decrease. Okay, so therefore your cap rate will have to go down as well. Okay, so the lease is all new, and usually I would wanted to see a short-term lease where I can go in and negotiate for a longer lease, so I can get better lease return. Right. All the tenants are great, because this is all the mom and pop shops, the grocery, the restaurants. They tend to stay longer, and this property is 100% fully occupied. The location is perfect. If you finance it, yes, the lender would love it because they have good return. Okay, so overall, I find that if you, beside the cap rate, like earlier what Calvin has said, you wanted to also put it into consideration what is the price per square foot you're buying. Okay, you just don't buy based on the cap rate. You buy based on how quality the tenant is, the location, and especially what's the price per square foot. If the area is only selling at $500 a square foot, and this property is priced at almost $700 a square foot, are you getting a good deal? Not really. You're getting a very peak values right there at almost $700 a square foot. Versus somewhere, down the street, you get like $500, $600 a square foot, which is much lower, right? So that's how I would go in and identify if this is a good opportunity for an investor or not. So if you want me to share you further details on, more breakdown, we'll go to the next one, which is the industrial building. Thanks, Calvin. Okay, so when you purchase the property, there's also, beside all the cap rate, all the numbers and all the data, you have to look at the due diligence. These are some of the risk factors that, beside Calvin has shared. You have to look at all the reports, all the engineering reports, all the environmental. If your shopping center has a dry cleaning place, that's can be easily cater to more environmental cleaning and things like that. That can cost you a lot of problems, right? If the tenant has some hidden lease clauses, you want to read through the lease, make sure they don't have any early terminations clause in there. They don't have any reduced rent. You make sure there is that you have a lease that is straightforward, doesn't have any hidden clause in there. And when you look at the projected income, you want to see, okay, if there's an annual increase of 3% or 2 or 3 or 5%, you want to project it out the next 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years to see what's the likelihood that that they'll stay and that you're getting a good profit return on that. Okay. And obviously property taxes, and Calvin had also mentioned about taxes. In San Jose, in California, we have Measure E. I'm not sure if you are familiar with that. If you're if you buy a property that is over $10 million, then you get tax, additional tax on top of your city and county taxes. So if it's $10 million, you automatically tax another 1.5%, and that's going to be a split between you and the seller. Okay. So those things I think is very important when you analyze the deals. Beside all the numbers, all the data, all the report are also very important.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, right now is 1 o'clock. Again, like I said, we're on a time crunch, but we're going to quickly go through. We still have 2 more deals, one retail and one industrial. But for me, I'm just going to quickly go through it. So if you look at these pictures, right, a lot of time people will be like, oh man, this is like, you know, like so ugly and whatnot. But you really want to go into the numbers. So when we look at a deal, we look at the tenant rent roll, and then the lease expiration. So as you can see, a lot of them are either on a month-to-month, or the lease is coming up, in the next 12 to 24 months. And I know Jeff liked this as well. So do I, because there's value add component to it. So just think about that, the pictures that I show, right? There's a lot of things you can do with it, whether repaint the building or, refacade the exterior and then bring in much nicer or better tenant. So that's a lot of opportunity that is, you can unlock, right? The potential is in here. Don't be afraid at looking at, ugly building. As long as the location, it's awesome. If you have a great location, doesn't matter what the building looks like. So the tenants on here, you can really, and then if you look at the rents, a lot of rents are single digit. This is per year. So they're paying, and this is probably like what you guys are paying per month in San Francisco. But look at the opportunity one can really and do over here, right? After you renovate the building, you can bring in the tenant, because that surrounding area, the average rent is like $18 to $20. So if you look at, most of the tenants are paying less than half. So there's definitely opportunity. So you want to look at the lease expiration, you want to look at the rent they're paying, then you can think about, okay, what can I do to add value to push the rent up? Because when you push the rent up, the valuation is going to be, the building is going to worth much, much more because of the cap rate calculation that we showed you earlier. Here's the income and expenses. So when you look at the lease, so we have on retail, you have triple net, you have gross lease or whatnot. You almost always want to have the lease structure in triple net, because the triple net, the tenant is going to reimburse you the actual expenses that you are paying as a landlord. For example, property tax goes up every single year. That's the fact. Property insurance, same thing. They all go up every single year. I've never seen like property insurance and property tax go down. And then the common area, your maintenance and management, same thing. They all goes up. So when they all goes up, you want to be able to not to have a limitation that you can charge back to the tenant. So when you have a gross lease, guess what? You are paying on any increases, because they're paying you gross. They're not paying you reimbursed on any increases. So that's why if you look at this income and expenses, you got the base rent and the triple net that you are getting back from the tenant. If this is a 100% leased building, and it is all triple net leases, your base rent right now here is showing 265,000, should equal to your NOI, which is your net operating income. So if you look at the 2 green arrow, the reason why the rent that you're collecting and the NOI doesn't match is because of the gross lease, because you have to come out of your pocket to pay those increase in expenses. So that's why triple net is always the best, because they will reimburse you the actual expense, whether it's increase or whatever, they'll pay every year. You readjust. So now you can look at, okay, there's some value that you can do on this property, meaning when that tenant lease expired, you can convert them to a triple net lease. Once you convert them, you can unlock, look at how much you can make if you just do that simple gesture. So you're making 18,000 just by signing a new lease with a triple net leases. So that's kind of like when you look at the rent roll, you look at the financials, you want to be able to analyze and find out any opportunity. So let's say this NOI is 247,267 divided by 4.125. So the cap rate on this property is 6%. So one of the questions that the audience have is like, okay, should I use cap rate and compare it to interest rate? Yes. However, sometimes like deal like this, the cap rate is lower than the interest rate. And you cannot just say, oh, this is a bad deal because my interest rate is, let's say my interest rate is 6.25 and the cap rate is 6. Then you'd be like, okay, I'm upside down. Don't think of it that way. Think of it like how you can improve, because all these tenants, they're paying, less than half of the market, like 50% of the market. So that's where you can increase. And then the triple net, convert the gross lease to triple net lease. All of a sudden, the rent income that you're getting is going to be much, much higher. And then your cap rate is going to be improved. It's going to be over the interest rate. So don't look at just the cap rate versus interest rate. You also want to look at how the cash flow, how the tenants, what are the lease structures, when are they expiring? Is there opportunity for you to push the rent up? That way you can push the cap rate much higher, right? So that's something that to look at. Industrial.
All right, industrial. This is one of my favorite assets in the commercial real estate. Okay, so next slide, Calvin. Okay, so I have this property here in San Jose, California. So this is a industrial condos, if you call it. They're from 6,000 to 12,000 square feet. And we have, this is just one example of a 12,000 square feet. It's going to be the similar, structure as a retail with as an investment sales. So it's based on a triple net lease, and this is what you're getting in terms of the annual return and the cap rate. So this is kind of like a performer of the property in the next 5 years, right? So the lease started in 2021, ending in 2026. So it was leased very low at 90 cents, and now in the next 5 years, it will go up to 5.5% cap rate. So, okay, so we gone over some of the investment, already, the analyzed investment property. Let's assume if you are an owner user, okay? If you are an owner user, how would you consider this is a good deal or not? Besides, if you're an owner user, I have another property like this similar that's vacant. How do you analyze it? How you know if it's a good deal or not? Okay, so in the industrial the industrial buildings, there are many different type of industrial building because of its zoning. Zoning can be it can be in the industrial park, in the light industrial. It can be heavy industrial or a mix of industrial and commercial. So and price vary because of its zoning. Okay, zoning meaning that what is permitted use there in certain zoning. So if you're in, let's say you have a auto repair shop, where that zoning going to be? It's going to be in a heavy industrial zoning, light industrial zoning. Can it be in the industrial park, right? So you have to know and understand what use is allowed under that particular zoning. So zoning is very important in the industrial building. Thanks, Calvin. So before you go purchase an industrial building, make sure you understand the zoning ordinance. What's permitted use there? If you have a manufacturing company and you want to buy an industrial building, you have to understand if that building zoning is allowed for your use or not. Okay. On top of that, you have to do all the comparable properties. You do all the rental, analysis. Make sure you have all the rental rate in comparison to it. You have to understand what are some of the other property are sold for within the 3 miles, 5 miles, or even 10 miles. Okay, so if you are an owner user, beside the understanding the type of different buildings. Okay, Calvin, next one. I think next one. Okay, perfect. Okay, this is how you analyze an industrial building if you are an owner user. Okay, so industrial park, particularly in California and San Jose, Silicon Valley area. Okay, industrial park, you're allowed to do anything that's related to R&D, research and development, manufacturing, assembly, testing, and things. Light industrial, warehousing, wholesaling, right? Any service establishment, you can do even the community center there, but nothing hazardous or heavy equipments. Let's say machine shops and things like that. It needs to be in the heavy industrial. Okay. So anyways, so when you buy an industrial building, you need to understand the characteristics of the building. Okay, whether it has enough power supplies for you. Can your semi truck have access? Do you have enough utilities like your HVAC? Does it have a loading dock? Grade level doors? Does it have enough height? And enough parking? So those are the things that you have to narrow down to make sure that it fits, the criteria of your business. Okay, and before you go in and buy the building, do a lease versus own analysis to see if it's worthwhile to just lease the building or go find a particular building to purchase. Right? You got to understand its demographic, whether the population serves your business or not, and you need to have experts, whether they are architect, engineers, because earlier Calvin had mentioned about improvements, construction, renovation. These things cost a lot, especially in an industrial building. You need to understand if it has sufficient power for you to operate your business. Does it have clean room? I have a client right now, that required to have so much, buildings renovation to ensure that they can be able to open their business. And again, you have to have an architect come in, draw out, map out the plan. So that to when you analyze the deals, you have to go through with additional experts to help you to see if the building fits what you're looking for. And then on top of that, compare. You can have brokers to pull up the recent records of all the sales within 3 miles, 5 miles. You can even hire an appraisers to put a comps together for you. Okay, so in the end, I believe zoning, what's allowed and what's not allowed. If you see on this slide, you see if you're buying a heavy industrial building, you have to see if it's if you see here like the C, the P, and the S, what it stands for is like C is a conditional use permit. P meaning that that use is permitted use, and then if it's an S, then it's a special kind of permit. So you have to understand all that, and if it doesn't say any of those things, that means it's not allowed for use. So if you look at the slide again, let's say if it's a heavy industrial, and you want to open a retail or a wholesale entity there, it's not allowed. Okay, so again, so look into the zoning. I think that's the most important part. Okay. Thanks, Calvin. I think that's should pretty much cover the industrial size.
Okay, so this is the final part of the presentation. So title commitment and survey. So a lot of time buyers that I've came across, sometimes they are not familiar with like title commitment, and sometimes they even overlook or don't really, because a lot of time people are transitioning from buying residential investment home to commercial. Guess what? On residential, you don't really look into the title commitment, right? What's the easement or what's any deed restriction? So, but in commercial, you have to pay a lot of attention on this title commitment because it will show you the easement, right? Is there any electrical easement or sewer or gas easement? Because oftentimes, if there's like a power line, electrical easement, you cannot build like 50 feet from the center or whatnot. So make sure you pay attention to that. Flood zone, deed restriction. A lot of time in commercial, if you are buying like a small pad out of let's say there's a mixed development, the developer will put on some restrictions that, oh, you cannot build like if the developer is building for, let's say, a grocery store for Whole Foods or whatnot, they will want to restrict the remaining land to not be able to have the grocery store. So if you're buying and trying to build a grocery store, make sure you look at the restrictions and if there's any thing that will prevent you from doing that. REA, which is the cross-access easement, meaning if you drive on the shopping centers, whether it's retail or warehouse, usually you can drive in front the access from other property to get to your property. So that's what I meant by cross-access easement. If you don't have that, that means that property owner can block off that street and you're not able to access to your property. It's also a fire lane situation. Mineral and water's right as well. So in title commitment, usually it's on Schedule B. If you look at a title commitment, when the title company send it to you, look into your Schedule B and look at all, especially on paragraph 10. If you have a long paragraph 10, A, B, C, D, make sure you look at them one by one. So here's an example. Look at the right-hand side, you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So those are the things that you have to look at. You as a buyer, you have the opportunity to object this exception and have the seller cure it. If the seller is not able to cure it, then you have to decide whether you want to continue to buy it or not. So, well, right now it's 1:17. Again, apologize for being over 1 hour, but there's a lot of content here. We want to kind of share with you, but now is the time if you have any questions to ask. I know, or if you can, I think Trinh has put out both Jeff and my email in the chat box. We can talk offline if you want to, or Trinh, do we have time for Q&A, or we just want to?
Yes. How's everyone doing? I know it's lots of information and people asking for analyzing multifamily too. I said, no, we don't have time. So there's a lot of information just for today doing retail, industrial analysis. So if you guys want to hang out for another 15-20 minutes, can you stay, Calvin and Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So anyone have questions, please unmute and raise your hand. And I did leave Jeff and Calvin and myself email in the chat box. So if you guys want to ask any questions, or some people asking for help on analyzing deals, my best advice is to work with your broker, because your broker knows how to analyze deals for you. Experienced broker like Jeff and Calvin, and have experience in analyzing deals, and also an investor themselves, and myself as an investor as well. And I saw Ji Thao La from Houston. She's also a realtor, and she has the comment that she has a 1031 exchange client looking for $20 million or more. Is that only in Houston, Ji Thao?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So if anyone has any lead, that can help her make that deal, talk to her, please. Ji Thao, you can leave your email or phone number on the comment, please. Thank you, Jay.
Make it happen, Calvin. Make it happen.
Yes. Dallas and Bay Area, we can help you, Jay. But Houston, you're the expert there already. Maybe ask you.
It's not about experience. It's about the deal. If anyone know any sellers, investor that looking to sell the strip centers, we just cash out on a couple of deals, so we have $20 million to buying power, so we can buy up to 60 millions. So of course, locations.
Can it be in California, Jay? Can it be in California?
I can ask.
We have a building in Vietnam Town right now going for 24 million, Jay.
In San Jose?
Yes, and right in Vietnam Town, big building, 34 units.
Okay, well, send it my way and we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll connect you with Josie as well, Josie Lin. So her, Katy Asian Town. So
Oh, Katie? Mhm.
yeah, I think she's selling some of the property over there. I'll connect you with her, Josie Lynn.
Thank you.
Okay, Tân Delta, a question. Go ahead, Tân.
Hi, this is Ted, and thank you so much for organizing this and all the good informations. I know there's a lot of experience behind that. I have a macro questions here. Let's say, I have heard of these analyzed deals, and it's the cap rate is about, let's say, 4 to 7%. And cash on cash is about, less than 7 or 8% there. So with the inflation rate, we know that's running about like 9% here. And with that, cash on cash return less than that. And with all the headaches coming in. So the very first question is it worth with all these headaches? And I think, a lot of us come into a real estate investment because the real deals is the appreciations of the properties. So what do you think with the trending now? Is it a time to just watching on the sideline, or what do you think? Just a very macro view of course, your personal opinion.
Okay, Jeff and Calvin, thank you, and for the question. Who wants
you.
to answer first?
So the question is, cash on cash is lower than inflation. Okay. Okay, I'll give you my two cents first, and then Calvin can chime in and give a bigger macro perspective on it. I still find it worth it, just because the inflation now it's still, obviously, as you can heard on the news, the Fed has been trying to lower down the inflation to a healthy rate, hopefully much lower than your cap rate, but they're doing their best right now to do that, whether to increase the interest rate, slow down the growth of the market, whatever they can to lower down the inflation. So your cap rate, if it's like cash on cash, if it's a 6% or a 7%, I find that to be a no-brainer, still a great return year to year. So that's from I don't know what type of property asset this is, but to me, anything in the 5 and up is still considered good. Okay.
Calvin, you wanna?
Yeah, so to kind of piggyback on Jeff's, it's we often get asked the same questions, like, okay, should we buy now or should we wait? It just come down to like what do you have any option to do with your money right now? So the capital that you have is probably just either sitting in the bank or hopefully not under the pillow or under your mattress. Just kidding, it was a joke. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but what do you have any other options? Yes, some people say, okay, I'll just roll my money into the stock market, right? Because obviously stock has been volatile. There may be some opportunity, but at the same time, stock can go like to zero, whereas real estate will never go to zero. So that's something you want to kind of have, what do you figure out yourself, right? There's only so much we can help and provide you the information. It's like, okay, do you want to put your money to work, or you want to put your money just to rest and then you want to wait for opportunity? What if market never crash? What if things, government keep on if something was to happen, government keep on pumping money and just kind of buy our way out, and then we just lost that opportunity. So I don't know, it happened to you, like to me, I thought 2018 is the peak, right? Because going back to the 8 to 10 years average, I thought 2018 was peak. And that's what I was like being cautious on buying property, because I thought market is peak. But guess what? Like now I kind of regret it, because market keep on extending it. So there's really no crystal ball. It's more like, are you comfortable with taking on the risk? The cap rate and the interest rate relationship, yes, on the surface, you don't want to go buy a cap rate that is lower than interest rate, but it's also case by case. If the property, the tenants are paying way below market, there's opportunity where you can re-tenant the building, then you can push the cap rate to more than the interest rate, right? So also, if the property the price per square feet. You got to look at, are you getting a good deal? So there's so many different factors, not just cap rate. Yes, cap rate is like the initial, like kind of like, okay, this seems interesting. Let me take a deeper look. So that's what I have.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff and Calvin. And let me summarize that. It's hard. No one has the magic ball, right? But it depends on your risk tolerance and what do you plan to do with your money. Again, each person risk tolerance is different, and can you handle if you have to rely on that money to generate income, then it's different story than someone, like, okay, you don't really need to rely on the cash flow to survive, and you bet on appreciation. That's different story. So each case is different, and each property is also different. So thank you, and Tan, and thank you, Calvin and Jeff. Any next question?
Then the most common question people has is how to start with commercial real estate.
How to start?
Yeah, how to start.
We did a lot of videos on CCIM as well to interview people, beginners, how they start buying their first properties and all that. But anyone here want to share your experience? If you have bought your first commercial investment, we'd like to hear from you. Like to hear your story. Chị Thảo. Chị Thảo is specialist in what do you call this, mobile home as well. So can you share your story, how you get into mobile home?
Yeah, I want to learn more about the mobile home park.
Just buy. Just buy.
Just buy it.
Yeah, that's how you get started. Just to buy one, and once you get one, then you know how to analyze the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
the best way. I think the best way, which is gonna be as a local broker that specializes in your market, who do commercial. As in, you have this much amount, you wanted to look into commercial. They'll give you a list of different options for you to learn from.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way. Yeah.
So you need to sit down with a experienced broker. As your don't treat as commercial broker is different than just like a house agent. Okay, they're basically your partner, your advisor. Sit down with them, tell them what's your goal, what you're looking to buy, and what's your finance condition right now, and then they work with you to give you a plan and see what market works for you, or what kind. People asking me, asking on the comments, like what kind of industry to get in. So yeah. It's very hard to answer that. Even we know warehouses in high demand right now, but would it be like that again in 5 years? Because of COVID, there's a lot of high demand for warehouse, but it's going to happen like that in 5 years, or people are going to start importing again, right?
For folks already investing in the housing market, right? Single family home, now jump into maybe a triplex, fourplex. So you understand you can diversify and have a little more, let's say one family move out, you still have at least 3 other families in the other fourplex, right? Okay. So that's how you can jump in, and instead of, it's just look into it and buy it, and figure out with a broker.
And especially if you own a business and your restaurant, retail, and office, and you want to be owner user, and that's why you want to get into retail. That's perfect too. So every case is different. Every person's goal, purpose, what do you do? Then you sit down with your broker and advisor, and we help you out, to see what's best for you.
One thing I want to emphasize is work closely with your lender, commercial lender, because they need 2 or 3 years of tax return on both business and personal. So yeah, that's the most important thing to acquire commercial. And we hold another section about the commercial lending like a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to find more information, I can share the link of that link by the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Tú. And anh Tân có question nữa. Go ahead, anh Tân.
Yes, thank you. If no one asks questions, and I like to take that questions. I have been only invest in single family home space. And have you seen what's the trend from people in single family, try to 1031 into commercial, into, let's say, like a retail center, and vice versa? Is, any experience that you talk with your clients when they do, from single family to commercial, and then did you have anyone from commercial go back to single family home?
Let me ask, thank you. Let me ask that, answer that question, because I've done 1031 myself and did interview with some experts on 1031 as well. Yes, you can change from multi-family, single families to any commercial, any property, as long as real property. So it's no problem. And 10. You can do 10 houses to one retail, or you could sell a land or a retail, and then you buy 10, 20 houses. Doesn't matter. And we have, Noi here have sold some property, and he couldn't find anything. He bought 100 houses in Dallas. So it's okay. You just make sure that you have work closely, have that plan with your broker, and would find a good 1031 exchange expert. But I have some very good people on my list. So if you need help, we'll talk later.
And one question from
what I meant is, which direction do they like? That's what I meant in my questions. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Which direction do they like? I don't understand. The investors.
Okay, so can I can chime in? So yeah, from the experience of the clients that we have, and we have seen a lot more investors who have invested in only in residential, explore the commercials, assets, and they love it more, just because they don't want to have the headache of knowing that the tenant is going to move out in 6 months because of a short lease. So with commercial, you have a longer term lease, so they like that a lot. Oftentimes they don't have to do much. If you already have a property management taking care of your residential, what they do now is they shift all those property managers to commercial side, and they'll take care of it, and knowing that they're always the tenants staying there for the long term. Yes, I have. I'm actually doing one 1031 exchange right now with the client. They're selling their single family home to buy a commercial property. So they like it so much that they continue to do it, so forth. So they wanted to sell all the other residential properties and move it to commercial. Yes, so that direction is actually much better than vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. And that's my case too. I'm selling all my single family homes and roll it all into commercial, because I like the stable lease, and that's the goal, right? You want to go from smaller to bigger and bigger. You usually you don't want to go down the other way.
See, thank you.
That would answer your question?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
And one question from the chat: what can we use to negotiate the price of the property? So I think you should do your due diligence by yourself instead of based 100% on the pro forma from the seller broker, because sometimes it's not correct 100%. They want to sell the property, so do your own due diligence. That's my opinion, but maybe Jeff can give some opinion as well.
Well, there's so many aspects of it. There's so many ways that you can. This is really broad, because you don't know what the property asset, what kind of property that is, and how if you have a vacancy, if you have. There's many ways that you can negotiate on the property, but again, do some comp first. Find out if the property have any environmental problems. There's so many different ways, so many different research that you have to conduct so that you have a better leverage to negotiate with the owner. Okay, Calvin, I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of negotiating yourself. This is kind of broad. I mean, for me, it's all negotiable.
Exactly. So especially, when you do your due diligence, there's always opportunity. In commercial buildings, the roof and the structures are the most important factors. Usually we'll look at the roof and see what's the condition and try to negotiate with the seller. And also depending on what market. So obviously right now in Dallas, we're still very hot. We have, multiple offers. So that's not like, there's a whole lot of leeway you can do as far as the price, because you're competing with other offers. So one way is to really do your, analyze the deal, and to save $10,000, $50,000 may not be as important as trying to get the deal, because once you get the deal, there's multiple ways you can get it back, because right now supply is still limited. I mean, on the market for sale, the most important thing. Yes, you don't want to overpay, that's for sure, but then like getting a property, getting it in your books is also very important. Again, it's very broad. There's multiple ways we looked at along the way. Even when under contract, we still can negotiate on price, because when we're doing due diligence, we are uncovering stuff. So yeah, but make sure you have a team that's helping you. Of course, I think this is a great platform, with NCM and then VSCRE and different organizations that's constantly providing value. You can almost like just call Trinh, and then she can guide you to the right person or give you like her advice and all that. So really utilize this platform as a resource to help you on your investment journey. Reach out to Trinh, reach out to Jeff, reach out to Tu, because they have done this. They have, investing themselves. They walk the path. They have the experience. Really just leverage them, ask them questions. Don't feel like you're on your own, because it's all about learning. This is not like something like, private, like, I'm looking at a deal, and then, because if you ask the right questions, if you go to, with Trinh or Jeff, they can provide you their opinion. They're not going to compete with you. Basically, they're just going to give you value and tell you like, okay, this is what you should do, blah, blah, blah. So.
Thank you, Calvin. And Tan, you have to have another question. Go ahead. Since
Yes.
no one has question, I think people are shy. They just put the comments on the chat. They don't want to show their face.
All right, I'm going to ask another questions here.
Okay.
I'm always curious and interested about CVS and like fast food drive-through. So have you done any of those, and what's the pros and cons of those two types of retail or restaurants?
Calvin?
I don't think I understand the questions. Are you asking
national? I think he was trying to understand what's the pro and cons investing in national triple net lease type of deals.
That's correct.
It's like CVS, Starbucks, McDonald's, all these national tenants. So from my understanding, these are actually management free type of deals. You don't even touch them. Like Calvin has shared, like every month you will receive your rental income right away, your rental payment right away, and you don't have to do much at all. The only thing that is considered a con for me is because a lot of these are actually ground leases, meaning that developer bought or they lease this land for like 50 years, 20 years, 40 years or so, and then they develop and build these into a national type of buildings, and then they rent it out to Starbucks or McDonald's. I'm not sure about CVS though. I think some cases where CVS is actually also a ground lease. So the only thing that is for me is when I advise client and when I share with them it's a ground lease, and they, oh wow, really? You don't own it forever? You only have it up to like 40 or 50-year lease? Then they sort of like, shy away from it. But I know that if you own it for 10 years and you still have a 20 or 30-year lease on it, it's still worthwhile to explore that option, and then you sell it later in 10 years. You still make your money back, and you sell it at maybe a higher price than what you bought for. So that's the only thing I remember dealing with Starbucks.
Oh, I see. So you think it's like it roasted because leasehold versus a fee simple? Okay.
It's not a fee simple type of deals. A lot of these like national tenants, national triple net deals are all ground leases. Unless if it's fee simple, I think that's a great deal. Yeah.
Is it true that I've heard that McDonald's, they have own their own lands as well?
That's possible. Yes, so it's possible. Yeah. So you have to do your due diligence on that part. I mean, make sure that the title company that you're with ensure that the property is owned and you're buying it at a free and clear as a fee simple. Okay, that's the key thing. Make sure it's fee simple.
Yeah. And what's a typical cap rate you see with all these national like CVS? Depends
on market. Depends on your market. Where I'm at right now in San Jose, the cap rate is very low, right? So you're looking about 3.25% to all the way 4.25%, or even maybe 5%. But if you go outside of the metro area, then you get a higher cap rate. You're looking from a 5.25% and up. I'm sure Texas has better cap rate than California, just because anything that's near the metro area, the cap rate tends to be much lower. It's just because of the land value is much higher here. That's the reason why.
I see. Trinh, do I have time for another questions?
Sure, go ahead.
I like to circle back to my previous questions. It's regarding about the cap rate and return. The reason I asked that because my dilemma is I can easily make 10% return because I'm doing the lending side as well to the developers. So it's 10% pretty much do nothing versus with these cap rates 6-7%. But I know that the appreciations. So my personal opinion is I think the market is on the downtrend, or minor correction, whatever. So that's my personal opinions, and I'm just want to see what do you see? Do you see that trending as well, or do you see it just will be flat?
You mean trending as the cap rate go up or the price go up, or
no? I think the trending of the appreciation is that we have seen its great appreciation for the last few years.
Okay.
You think
you have to understand commercial appreciation is different than residential. Residential only rely on market price. Commercial appreciation depends on a lot of other factors, and most of them is on the lease. So you have to understand your tenants, where the potential add-on value is with the tenants, move out. You can compare the lease rent roll compared to the market rent. Can you increase? And a lot of them with long-term tenants, go back to that question you have about long-term tenant or anchor tenant or national tenants. Even though the cap rate is small, they have increased every year on their lease. Let's say, if a lot of time people forget to add on, you buy it right now as 5%, but next year it's going to be 5.5% automatically, even with all these long-term tenants, because all the increase on the lease, we have like increased rent every year already signed on the contract.
So one way in, which market are you at? Are you in California or in Texas?
I'm a different state.
Okay.
I exit out of California a few years ago.
Okay. So in fact, it doesn't matter what market it is. You can be in Texas or California. One thing I see in the commercial business that if you are an investors in this market, what you're doing is you have to look for property where not just the price, but you can add values to increase the value of the property. Whether you buy a property, that there's some inefficiency in the rent, or some sort of inefficiency where something is not right about this property. There's short-term leases, the rent is lower than the current market rate. You jump in and you turn around and you get new leases, automatically the value of the property can increase, not just only 10%, can increase, maybe even double the value. You can buy a $2 million property right now with whatever cap rate that is, and you turn around and you can change the lease to current market values. If the lease is like half its value, let's say if it's $2 lease and your neighbor is paying $4, you can go around and you turn that into a $4 lease. Automatically, all your net operating income will skyrocket, and the value of your property will automatically increase, can be 50% more.
There's a lot of calculations. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff, for clarifying that. And also another thing that people forget is on commercial, let's say you have 14 units and you have 3 empty units, right? Right now, you don't have tenants on those 3. It means you are paying all the expenses for that, the triple net, the CAM, the insurance, the property tax. But if you can go in and fill up those 3 spaces, you automatically lower your expenses because your tenants pay for all the expenses for you. So there's a lot of factors and heavily relies on leases and who's your tenant, what's your plan, and what you can do. So
good point. Because it's just you and Jeff just make a very clear distinctions that in commercial, the value is based on the income, the NOI versus on the residential side. Thank you.
And that depends on each property. We have to really sit down and analyze the tenants. What's the plan? What can we do? There's a lot of numbers come with in retail tenants, multi-tenants.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Otherwise, we can end it here. All right. I think that's long enough. It's already almost 2 hours. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Calvin.
Okay.
Thank you, Tho, for all this
Thank you.
high tech behind the scene. Thank you, Jita. Oh, Trường, do you have a last question? Take a last question.
It's just a clapping.
Oh, okay, clapping. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
you all.
weekend.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Bye.